China and India are two big wings, and we are the pair of legs in the middle with a heart. It threw me totally apart. Fortunately, I didn't produce any slides, otherwise I would not have known how to continue. So, since I'm blown apart temporarily, I will just say that let's look a little bit about certain strengths that Singapore has. All of you know that Singapore is a very, very small country, but we have kept the embassies of our two big partners very, very busy indeed, because we have quite a lot of bilateral dealings with both India as well as China, quite out of proportion of our size. That basically, I think, is because of a few factors. That firstly, Singapore experience is something that both India and China would like to look at. And the fact that we are small make it easier for them to study. We are pretty small, pretty homogeneous, and yet in the last 40 years, we have gone through about 3 economic transformations. From labor intensive to capital intensive to skills and knowledge intensive, and now trying to achieve innovation intensive. So every time we have this change, there will be quite a lot of consequential changes that we need to deal with. Retraining of the workforce, education style, how to deal with retrenched workers, how to deal with the social problems, how to motivate people to press on. Because sometimes if you have one transformation, you want to press on again, everybody says, well, why should we bother? We are already flying in the air. And the fact that we are small means that every transformation takes relatively short period of time, so the case study, you don't need to wait 50 years in order to view all these. So therefore, the Chinese and the Indian government looked at our experience and found that it was something that is worthwhile sharing with us. And the fact that we have this thing called Singapore Inc., which means Singapore government work relatively closely with the private sector as well as the people, so we behave like a company called Singapore Inc., makes it even more interesting. Of course, the fact that Singapore has good political relationship with both India and China also helps. You see, when we work with China, we compare ourselves with India, say Hong Kong and Taiwan business people. Singaporeans will always say that, we want to quote bilateral relationship, the closeness in relationship between our leaders. Whereas for Hong Kong and Taiwan, they never quote this. And therefore, their behavior is totally different. This is our strength. I suppose this is also partly our weakness. But one real other strength is we have got very good network with multinational companies, and our network gives us the possibility of maybe acting as a middle agency or middle person to bring the MNCs to both India as well as China. Well, these are our strengths. But we also have to remember, we may have 2 big wings, we are only 2 small legs. Remember the limitation of our legs' capability. Firstly, I think we must always remember that dealing with Indians and Chinese is very different from dealing with Singaporean Chinese and Singaporean Indians. We are fundamentally quite different. And we must always remember that while Changi is very similar to Jurong, Woodlands very similar to Telok Blangah, Shanghai is not quite the same as Guangzhou. Okay, and Qingdao is quite different from Lhasa. For that matter, the 4 big hubs, I'm quite sure Chennai is very different from New Delhi, And Kolkata is very, very different from Mumbai. This is a sense that we Singaporeans sometimes forget. We thought everybody is the same. Just because we speak each other's language, we are fine. Point is, we are not quite. Secondly, one weakness that we have, I think, is a cooperation amongst private sector is not strong enough. See, precisely because the Taiwanese government has little local standard in China, and the Hong Kong government have very little local standard in China, so their businesses, they work with each other. They collaborate with each other first. They don't talk about profit sharing. Let's ask around and see who is most knowledgeable. Sino's company may hold only 5% of the equity, but he knows this place best, so he shall be the chairman. Singaporean businesses, I think we are not that big-hearted. Let's talk about profit sharing first. It must be 25, 25, 25, 30, or God knows what. But you know what? You have not got any profit yet. 25% of zero is still zero. That we forget. And thirdly, I would hope that our government agencies, I know MTI is here, remember to continue to help us promote our business prospect. Compared with the time when I did Suzhou, I find our government agencies now are a little bit more arm's length than those days. Okay? And as a result, small and medium-sized enterprises find it going tougher. Okay? Looking at the more recent success stories, many of them are Temasek link companies. Temasek link companies, to many people, it has government's capability, it has government's size and government's network. But if you're talking about smaller companies and smaller enterprises, they do not have that kind of a prestige, that kind of a connection, and that is where perhaps some of our government agencies like TDB could help a bit more. But having said that, I see our DS taking down notes. Having said that, I also must say, I would like to appeal to our SMEs to be more open to government agencies about their game plan. One thing about our SME is everything secret. Dare not share with anybody. If we share with others, others may steal your cake and eat it. But if you have not gotten the cake yet, there's nothing to eat. Might as well talk about how you are going to get the cake and see whether TDB, MTI agencies can help us get the cake. You may say, having seen the cake may be good for you to share with others. Well, half of a slice is half a slice. One of no slice is no slice. Choice is yours. So I think these are the kind of thoughts and perspective that we must overcome. We must be more big-hearted in order to tackle these two big wings. Otherwise, we'll be torn apart. Can you imagine a bird of that size, wings so big and a body so small? That is the bird that the professor described. I don't know how you're going to navigate that one. Well, having said that, I also want to raise 3 possible areas that I think we will be able to make a difference if we were to work with the Chinese and the Indian governments or private sectors. One is what I call education and skills training. Singapore has got good education system, but very importantly, Singapore has very good skills training program. Our polytechnic and our institution of our ITE, the Institute of Technical Education, are something that both India and China do not quite have. They may have some vocational institute, but it's not comprehensive. And unfortunately, these vocational institutes are so important to industrial development, and yet they suffer from very poor public image. In China, if you get your children, if my son gets sent to a vocational institute, I won't try to tell my friends. We faced the same problem 30 years ago. Now, not anymore. If my son goes to a polytechnic or an ITE, well, I may wish that he go to university, but I'm prepared to quite proudly tell my friends that he has got something useful. Because the issue is not education, the issue is skill. China and India both has very rich manpower resources, but in terms of skilled manpower resources, it's not rich. If we can find a way for our polytechnic and ITE to play a role there, then I think we can work together for the global good by educating and training these two vast workforce. Polytechnic and ITE, because they receive most of the fund from the government, they can't invest overseas. But there's nothing to stop the Chinese or the Indian, for example, industrial parks, to say, we come up with the investment, we will build the institution, you provide the expertise, you design the courses for us, make sure that it can tailor directly to the needs of the industry, and we have a deal. We have a company, we have the infrastructure, and we pay you consultancy fees, and you come and work with us. I think this will be one model that both ITE and Polytechnic will be very, very happy to adopt. Second area is what I would call medical services and health management. Both of these countries have health service that can be significantly improved. Not only for the expatriates or the middle class, upper middle class who are in these two countries, but also health management for the masses. In fact, we also have good medical service. If we are able to somehow find a partner over there, because health service, medical services are very, very heavily regulated. If we find good partners there, where we can bring in our skills into their structure, we will be able to very significantly improve the delivery and service of health as well as medical. And this will be good for humanity, because you are talking about two biggest humanities in the whole world. Together they make up something like 40% of the world's population. The third area is what I would say master planning or city planning. Both countries are urbanizing in a big way. I'm less familiar with India, but China, when I was in primary school, we have a population of 700 million, of which 85% are in the countryside, 50% in the city. Today is a population of 1.3 billion, roughly 50% in the city. So think of the pace of urbanization, from 15% of 700 million to 50% of 1.3 billion. They need to build one city of 500,000 every week, and it has to be sustainable. We do have some knowledge in planning for eco-cities. Make sure it's sustainable, and it has got to be sustainable city built when we're still not rich yet. There are many sustainable cities in Europe, but they built them after they become rich. And each one has got a population of a few thousand. We need to build cities before we are rich. And each one must have a population of about 500,000. if we can together solve this problem. Develop a template in China, a template in India, then next time together we will go Latin America, we will go Africa, because the time will come when they will also urbanize. And together with the two big wings and a small leg, we can do for the global good. So these are our dreams. I just hope that our Singaporean companies, firstly, can see the big picture. Secondly, have a bigger heart. Collaborate amongst ourselves a little bit better. Collaborate with our Indian and China partner, looking at longer term view. See whether we can go a little bit beyond short-term investment return or not. Because investment return is a number that is only an estimate. All the number I've seen in China project, Indian project, always proven wrong. We always tend to underestimate because they are growing so fast and it is quite beyond the scope of our calculator. Last but not least, to our Singaporean friends, keep some good brand names with you. We are far too fast in selling some of our good brand names. We have sold Raffles Hotel, we have sold PSP Lab, we have sold PWD, we have just sold Tiger Beer. Because of this, I stopped drinking Tiger Beer. I think we are going to sell F&N. Look, all these brand names are something that our neighbors recognize. Singapore government is also something that our neighbors recognize. We can't keep on quoting the government because the government can't be everywhere. But some of these good brand names, they can be everywhere. So please keep some. We have also sold SPC, Singapore Petroleum, right? There are others. I think before we do that, remember it is not easy to build our brand name and our credibility. We sell this and we may end up having a smaller feet to handle the two big wings. So 2 minutes up. I don't want to see the last one, so thank you very much.